Hey, welcome to Half the Battle. You know, it seems like a long time since we last looked at the comic, and I seem to remember it ending on a cliffhanger. Yeah, that was my bad. So...
Last time in the G.I. Joe comic, the Joes had just won a battle against Cobra in Washington, D.C., but there were casualties on both sides. The Baroness got blown up, but good. And Hawk was shot in the back, repeatedly. Let's find out how he's doing and if Cobra managed to get away in issue 17, Loose Ends. Our cover has an exciting action scene where Major Blood is locked in combat with, some Joe. There's really no way to tell who. They are speeding towards a toll booth on a bus and motorcycle. This cover gives the gist of some things that happen in the comic, but it's taking some liberties as usual. The comic begins with a splash page, pretty much where the previous comic left off. Hawk has been shot and is laying motionless in the street, while Scarlet and Clutch are standing over him. Though Scarlet seems to have lost her helmet between comics. The cliffhanger of whether Hawk is still alive is immediately resolved, as Scarlet states that he's not dead, even though Cobra Commander shot him in the back 3 times. Clutch explains this by saying that Hawk was smart enough to wear a bulletproof vest. Of course he was.
I thought I'd have notes.
Actually, I did look this up to see if a bulletproof vest could stop shots fired at point-blank range.
And the answer is, well, maybe. It depends on the type of ammo used and the type of vest. So I'm gonna give the comic the benefit of the doubt here.
They load Hawk up for transport to the hospital since he could still have serious internal bleeding from the impact, as the Joes get that dirty on what happened and are pretty worried about him. Their worrying is interrupted by this jackass honking his horn, though, because they're blocking traffic. Gung-Ho, ever the diplomat, has a frank exchange of views with the driver. When he learns that the car is a Shelby GT Cobra, he offers some criticism concerning the man's choice of vehicle. By which I mean that he tears a door off with his bare hands and destroys the car with it, like he's the Incredible Hulk, while the other guy whimpers and sobs.
For some reason, I seem to be missing the issue with the massive lawsuit and court-martial that this sort of thing usually brings about. Yeah, complete collection my ass.
Anyway, at the same time, a bunch of other Joes are in pursuit of Cobra Commander, Destro, and my favorite guy in the whole world, Doctor Venom. The bad guys are getting away while Cobra Commander gives some exposition on what happened last issue, and also proves that he's a fast thinker. He narrates the part where Major Blood tried to kill Destro, only to be thwarted by the Baroness, who sacrificed her life to save him. The commander offers the logical assumption that it was he himself who ordered the hit on Destro, and, in a clever bit of thinking on his feet, proposes that Major Blood acted on his own because he was in love with the Baroness and wanted to get rid of his rival. And Destro seems to buy this explanation and vows revenge on Blood.
You see why I keep comparing this stuff to Game of Thrones?
Around this time, we check in with Snake Eyes and Quinn the Eskimo. And it's about damn time, if you ask me, since they weren't in the last issue and have spent all that time in jail with their thumbs up their asses. It's only now that they decide to get proactive and escape, thanks to Quinn having a saw blade hidden in his shoe and Snake Eyes has money hidden in his sleeve. Well, one of these things is handy for a jailbreak. The other is not. They conveniently escape off-panel and promptly find a shady dice game in a back alley. How very convenient again that we immediately find a use for the money Snake Eyes was hiding. And he wins the car and even some poor guy's hat in the process, so they have transportation now. Well, of course he did, because he's called Snake Eyes. And he's playing a dice game. Do ya get it yet? Do ya? Do ya? Meanwhile, Major Blood is also still on the run and hijacks a bus to get away. Way to keep a low profile there, dude. It also happens to be the same bus Scarface was on in the last panel of the previous issue. Speaking of unbelievable coincidences, Stalker and Grand Slam just happen to be nearby when the bus crashes through a toll booth, so they engage blood. This is where we see the dramatic license the cover takes when describing events. I mean, the bus had already crashed through a toll booth before the Joe's attack, even though on the cover they're all driving towards it. Also, on the cover, Stalker is nowhere to be seen. Well, at least now we know that the Joe on the cover is supposed to be Grand Slam. Pretty cool, actually, considering you never really got to see much of him. Anyway, Blood fires on them, but he's about as good a shot as his cartoon counterpart, just hitting the motorcycle. And it occurs to me that the bus driver could easily end this mess by just braking really hard, sending Blood flying. But I guess they can't all be as proactive as Sandra Bullock. Grand Slam manages to get on top of the bus, crash through the window, and subdue Blood. Meanwhile, Cobra's air support has arrived. Wait, what? Additional air support? Over Washington. That has just been attacked by terrorists. I'm pretty sure the skies over Washington would be swarming with Air Force at this point. Instead, it's just Ace and his Sky Striker.
I mean, come on! Freaking Belgium has a better threat response than that!
I'm not even kidding. On 9/11, Belgium sent up all its battle-ready fighters to guard the skies over the country in general, and Brussels in particular. That's right, we send up both of them.
Yeah, we only had 2, but you have to remember, Belgium is about the size of a moist towelette.
And that's still double of what the American military sends up in this comic. Cobra Commander and friends get away by having their tank airlifted to safety. Now, to be fair, Ace does manage to take out their escort, but his plane gets damaged in the process, so he can't pursue. No, seriously, where is literally all the rest of the Air Force?
There are 2 epilogues of sorts to this story.
First, we head to the hospital where a somewhat damaged Major Blood has been taken. It's here we learn a few important facts. For one thing, Hawk is totally fine, as we find out when Blood tries to escape. For another thing, a female patient has arrived at the burn unit, the Baroness. They say she has third-degree burns over 80% of her body. That's a bit of a problem. You see, we know she survives, but that kind of injury is pretty damn fatal. They could have cranked it down a little. There's also a continuity error here, as they say she was wearing broken glasses when she came in, while the most iconic image of the last comic showed the brutality of the explosion by sending her glasses flying. The second epilogue sets up what's gonna happen in the next issue. Scarface is heading to his secret hideout.
A secret hideout that really isn't secret at all, because everybody and their grandmother end up going there.
Quinn the Eskimo somehow knows, and he wants to find Scarface so he can lead them to Doctor Venom, while Destro also knows and wants to use Scarface as a Trojan horse. So next issue, everybody is heading to Coney Island.
Oh, goodbye, my Coney Island baby. Farewell, my own true love, my honey.
So that was Loose Ends. It was a great story that advanced the plot considerably.
And that's why I have a problem with the title. You would think this was the end of the story with a title like that, but the Doctor Venom arc will go on for 2 more issues. Other than that, it's a solid issue, but I wouldn't pick it up by itself. You need to read the stuff that comes before and after to really enjoy this issue.
See you next week, everybody.